Hi, everybody. This is Jimmy. You're reading with Jimmy. And we're reading a quick take, 10-minute distillation of a great short story called Rust by Guy de Maupassant, subtitled by Jimmy, Comedy, Fear, and the Corrosion of Spirit. Welcome, everybody. Now, what if I told you that laughter, embarrassment, and a touch of fear combine to reveal how even the strongest personalities can rust with time? That's Guy de Maupassant's Rust. What a great title to a great story written in 1882. It's a witty, ironic story where hunting, accidents, city life, and fragile pride collide to show how human spirit corrodes under pressure. So I want to welcome you to Jimmy's Quick Take. This is the 10-minute insight into Rust so that you can take a deeper dive with me and read the whole story, which I think you'll enjoy. Let's explore this in 10 minutes of what this story is about. So, what is the story? Well, the setting is the French countryside, in Paris, contrasted as space, vitality, decay. The countryside is full of hunting trips, laughter, camaraderie. The main characters in the story are Baron Hector. He's a vigorous man in his 50s, stout, bald, mustached, full of energy, laughter, but deeply vulnerable. We'll talk about that. And then there's Mr. and Mrs. Corvell. These are Hector's friends who listen to his endless hunting stories. There's his daughter and her husband, Dartnot. And then there's Madame Villers. This is the match for Hector, who Mr. and Mrs. Corvell bring in and say, Hector needs a wife. So they bring her over, and that triggers one of the story's funniest scenes. So here's the plot. Hector loves recounting his hunting exploits, entertaining his friends with grand gestures, roaring laughter. He likes to give personalities to the dogs. Oh, the dog was looking at me, and he said to me with his eyes, "Pretty soon, Sir Hector." And during one hunt, Madame Villers, who's terrified, never fired a gun. She fires both barrels of a shotgun blindly, staggering under the recoil, and hits a couple of birds. Yes, Hector leaps in comic disarray as the hunting dog calmly retrieves two partridges. The group erupts in laughter, and later, Hector falls ill. He's delighted. When she kills those two birds, he says, "I found the woman. I gotta marry this woman." But he gets sick. He welcomes tender visits from the Corvell women who serve him tea and lunch with kindness. And in a quiet, more serious moment, Hector confesses to Mr. Corvell how he is a little rusty. He'd like to marry her, but he's a little rusty. Corvell struggles not to laugh as Hector's telling him this story, if you know what I mean by rusty. But when you read the story, it's funny how he discovers he's rusty. But when he repeats the story to his wife, she doesn't find it funny at all. In fact, she calls Hector a fool and insists that Madame Villers should come over again. And I'm not going to tell you how the story ends. I want you to read it with me. So what's the big deal? Well, Guy de Maupassant blends comedy and irony into a serious undercurrent, and Rossi explores the comedy of human folly. People laugh at Hector's antics, whether he's telling stories or fleeing after a hunting accident. The fear of decline. Beneath the laughter, Hector is terrified of getting old, sick, losing vitality. And then there's a metaphor of rust. Just as metal corrodes, things within life and time itself corrode our spirit. There's a saying, if you only do one thing and that's all you do, all the other things suffer. So Maupassant is asking us, when we laugh at another's folly, look at this ridiculous guy. All he gives a crap about is hunting. Are we really laughing at something in ourselves? There's a theory about laughter. What are some of the themes? Well, hunting and storytelling. For Hector, the hunt is life itself. Nothing is more important. He lives for it day and night. He hunts in summer, winter, spring, fall. It's not just the chase, but the joy of retelling it. Did you ever hear a fisherman tell a story about the fish he caught? It fills his world with laughter and camaraderie. And then rust. After 16 years without intimacy, Hector's worried that he still might not be able to perform. He goes to Paris, he tries everything. You got to read the story with me. But he can't do it. Can't do it. So he's embarrassed and he calls off the marriage. Can't do it. Can't do it. His rust isn't about the decline in general, but about one specific human insecurity. And we're all insecure about something, aren't we? Comedy, clarity. What makes men roar with laughter, right? Madame de Corral dismisses with a cutting truth. She's not laughing at poor Hector. Men treat Hector's story as comic, but she strips it bare. He was simply scared. That's what she says. And I'm not going to tell you the ending. Embarrassment and perspective. Monsieur de Corvel owned discomfort at his wife's reaction. He becomes uncomfortable when she says, "Oh, that kind of thing happens when people love each other. It'll come back." Interesting. Why does this matter today? Why does a story called Rust still matter? It's 19th century. I mean, who cares? We've got drugs now for all this stuff, right? Who cares? We can always do things. We got drugs. That's not the answer. Drugs are not the answer. Because we all fear losing our edge. It's not just about metal, it's our strength, our charm, our relevance, losing our hair. Humor masks fear. Laughter is often how we cover things up that unsettle us most, right? Perspectives differ. One person's comedy is another's seriousness. The scene where Hector's telling his good friend about his problem, and his friend is containing himself. He wants to bust out laughing. It reminds us that interpretation is never fixed. And finally, the passage of time spares no one. Maupassant's metaphor of rust speaks across centuries. I really want you to read this story with me. So calling all readers. Visit my website. You're on there now, reading this, readingwithjimmy.com. You can watch me on YouTube, subscribe to my channel. And we're going to pull back the layers and discover the truth that Maupassant's third-person narrator hides beneath the surface of this story. And before you leave, let me leave you with this thought. What's your rust? Is it fear of aging? Loss of place in life? Getting fired? Something else that slowly corrodes your spirit? Huh? The mind is a strange thing, ladies and gentlemen. So, curious about another classic? You want me to read a classic? Send me an email, readingwithjimmy.com, jimmy@readingwithjimmy.com. And before finally, this story is only 20 minutes long on my website. This is a 10-minute quick take. Add more 10 minutes. Come on down and read it with me. You won't regret it. You'll also find an analysis on my website about this story to make you think and appreciate it a little bit more. The QR code will take you to my YouTube channel. Thanks for coming. And remember, all I'm going to tell you about Rust is that practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect. All right? Go out there and practice, ladies and gentlemen. Whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do.